Dr. Al. I just want to share with you a book I recently read and tell a little bit about the book and encourage you to read it as well. It's called Resonant Leadership by Richard Boyatzis and Annie McKee, and I hope I pronounced their last names correctly. But it's Resonant Leadership. It came out in 2012, and yet I feel like it's a read for today in helping leaders. 2005 it came out. 2005. It's published by the Harvard Business School Publishing. In 2005 is when the copyright is released. This is a good book. It's endorsed by Daniel Goleman of Social and Emotional Intelligence, and this book talks a lot about social emotional learning and how leaders need to resonate with their direct reports, and rather than be dissonant or disconnected from their team, they need to resonate with their team and help results be accomplished, but also renew themselves as leaders so that they don't get stuck in the sacrifice syndrome and crisis and threat resolution all the time. The renewal cycle helps keep leaders resonant. The renewal cycle is accomplished through mindfulness, hope, and compassion. These are important social factors, values and beliefs, and desirable personal characteristics that help the leader attend to those whom he's leading. And I really wish I'd read this book years ago. It would have helped me avoid what was called the power stress, what they call the power stress cycle, which leads to burnout, leads to ineffectiveness, leads to a leader simply wanting to give up and not continue on the path to which they're called, to which they once entered with vibrancy and hope. And the leader kind of disintegrates in hopelessness, turns on their staff, and instead of leading, causes disarray and chaos. This book is full of positive ideas and techniques for leaders to use so that they continually respond and resonate with their team and help the team accomplish the goals and vision that the team first set out on to accomplish. The whole idea of resonant leadership is a step above primal leadership, which was another book that they published years ago with Daniel Goleman on social intelligence. So IQ matters, but EQ matters more. And I definitely would agree with that. And have found that to be the case. You could take two people with comparable intelligence, comparable work skills, and the one with a higher EQ or emotional intelligence will be the one that advances, the one that people favor as being their leader, the one to whom that they'll go for assistance. The go-to person will be the one with a better social intelligence and emotional quotient. The one with the better people skills, the one more fluid, the one who works better on a team, the one who knows how to delay gratification. And these are all things that you certainly want to teach your children when they're young. Delayed gratification, working on a team, getting along with others, being nice, having good people skills, being firm when needing to be firm, being assertive, knowing the difference between assertive and aggressive. These are all important traits for children to learn young, so that then when they're older and in positions of leadership or crisis management or intentional change management, when they're in those positions as a leader, they can fall back on those skills and help produce positive results that need to be produced in times of crisis or times of change. So I got a lot out of this book, and I'm going to read it again to glean more of the wisdom that's in this book and the importance of mindfulness, practicing compassion every day. I know mindfulness gets a mixed review in some circles, but the Bible did teach us a lot about meditation, and it's important for us as Christians to meditate on the Word and to be mindful, as Scripture says, of the Lord and His leading and His will and what He wants us to accomplish on the earth. We're to be salt and light. Some of us have to be shaken out of the salt shaker. We need to be spread out in and among the world to spread the light and life of Christ out to others. It's not enough to just sit there in the salt shaker and week after week hear the same thing, sing the same thing, and then not take it to the dying world who needs us and needs to hear what we have to say. So, as Christians, we need to lead people to life, not to a dead end, but to a life end, and a life place, a life purpose. I know one of the translations that some have where Jesus said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life." It can be translated, "I am the way, the truth, and the life place," or the place of life, or as I said, life place. I had one counseling center one time that I called Life Place because it was to emulate Jesus in the counseling and to help show people the place of life. Many times in counseling, folks, when they come in, they don't feel like life is still in them, and they feel beat up by life and feel betrayed by life and tricked by life. So many times they have to recapture a vision of finding a life place. And mindfulness is very similar to that in understanding what it is that we seek when we rest, when we ponder, when we meditate. We need to think on these things, the Word says. We need to think on the things that Jesus taught that bring life and life everlasting. And in counseling people toward that end, it will help them in overcoming depression, anxiety, conflict, restlessness, agitated depression. Many times people start fights because of agitated depression. They're depressed and they don't realize it. It's not like they say, well, I'm depressed, I want to go start a fight to feel the adrenaline boost and the endorphin boost of that fight. But in fact, that's what they're doing, and that's what we do sometimes, kind of stirring the pot and kind of getting things going. Those are all examples of dissonance in the book Resonant Leadership. Dissonance is the opposite of resonant. Resonant means to be in harmony, to be in key. If it's singers and musicians, they're in key, they're in harmony when they're resonant. When they're not, they're dissonant. It means out of key, or out of harmony, or out of tune with one another. So resonance is a goal that we could pursue as leaders as well as counselors, to help people find resonance within their family, within the workplace, within their church. And certainly pastors could benefit a lot, I believe, from reading this book, because they're doing so much crisis management, so much transitional change management, intentional change management, that the sacrifice and the power stress syndrome can become overwhelming, and in fact some pastors then just quit. Again, not putting pastors down, but encouraging pastors to stay in there. I've counseled many pastors and helped them overcome some of the bumps in the road and overcome some of the tremendous stress and strain that they're under, expectations and performance anxiety, and many things going on there. But I would certainly recommend this book, Resonant Leadership, to pastors, and encourage it be a read, and use the study guide. The questions that are at the end of each chapter is important to work through the workbook type portion that's at the exercises that are at the end of each chapter. But I think pastors would gain a lot from this book. Again, Resonant Leadership by Richard Boyatzis and Annie McKee. Harvard Business Review Publishing. Harvard Business Review Publishing. All right, well, thank you, and Lord bless you, and be encouraged, please. Hebrews 3:12 says, encourage one another day after day, lest you be hardened by the deceitfulness of sin. And encouragement is so important. I've done a couple videos on encouragement because it's that important that we encourage one another. And I hope I have encouraged you in this brief talk. Thank you very much. Lord bless you. Dr. Al out.